Your first house. Imagine the possibilities. How to make money off your first house. We're going to look at 3 ways. As your first house as a wealth building and wealth living tool. A house, like real estate, is an asset class, but it's a purchase. You live in it. But now it's a work tool in the times of COVID. Not every house is, but you talk about we're living in the future with this pandemic, or have been. This is a replica of the Walt Disney House of the Future. For years, this house was at Disneyland. It introduced the concept of the flat screen TV. Your first house can take you to a future of ownership and wealth building. How to make money off your first house. We're going to look at it 3 ways. First, why this house? Why now? And where? And where is the big question. Location, location, location. And if wherever you do buy, don't buy the most expensive home in your area or on your street. Don't set the real estate market price, even if it's in a moderately priced area. That will pay off for you if you buy under the highest price. Location also implies school district. And if you have children of different ages, that may be more than one school district, or near work, and that may also be more than one workplace. So think about transportation, daycare, and family ties in the area. Also look at environmental and risk issues, floods, rising tides, lowland environments, upstream hazards, environmental hazards like Superfund sites, and the big disasters, wildfires, hurricanes, etc. Keep your eye on the economic outlook in your area. What future developments, new businesses moving in, new employment? Is it a healthy economic environment? And going down more locally, think about zoning changes or development pressures that could alter your neighborhood or adjacent neighborhoods. Remember the Pixar film Up, where that house was surrounded by a downtown office environment. Also think about the fiscal health of your local government. Is its tax base healthy? What are the crime rates in the area? And did you know that in some jurisdictions you can have the local police do a security assessment of the home you buy for free? I've had that done, got a lot of great tips. So then you look from where to what. Your first house, is it single family? And of course, what style is it? Is it ranch, 2-story, etc.? Could it be a condo, a townhome, or even a duplex? One thing I've really admired about the home purchasing process is getting a hold of an inspection report on the house you're thinking about buying. That report could tell you to not buy that house. Look at the qualifications of the inspector. Some jurisdictions license inspectors, some may have a certification. But the home inspection becomes an action checklist about safety, potential improvements, and even a bargaining chip in the purchase negotiation process. And feel free to buy one. It may not be cheap, but if the inspection report comes out too discouraging, don't buy the house. But realize you have purchased that, you've got a blueprint for ideas of future improvements and maintenance. It's knowledge you can use forever. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button here at What's Next with Money. We're talking about how to make money off your first house. Now we're going to look at ways you can use your house. Obviously, you can live in it. It's a purchase, but it has flexible uses and potential growing value in the future. But the uses have expanded since the COVID pandemic. It now, for some folks, becomes the workplace. It becomes the schoolhouse. It becomes the place to practice a small business or a gig. it's even a place to do exercise. So the money aspects of home ownership, you can build equity. Having a mortgage where you literally pay yourself rent. But mortgage is more. It is a form of forced savings. Savings that literally is inaccessible. In most cases, it is locked up in the home. But it's equity that over time can be built up as your ownership part rises and your debt part goes down for an enterprise, a small business, investing in other real estate, home improvements, even education savings. And you have the benefit of the experience and the practice of home ownership. It's a great skill you pick up. And you've gone through already the process of buying and financing your first house, learning about maintenance. And of course, it can be used for these new special purposes, running a business out of the home, homeschooling or distance online schooling when the regular schools are closed. You can even study at your home for your own specialized training or degree. That may be more conducive than studying in an apartment. Now, what are some of the kind of unusual money aspects of home ownership, especially the first house? Under certain conditions, and you may need a lease for this, you could bring in a boarder, somebody that actually lives in one of the rooms and pays you money. You could bring in a family member as well, perhaps a disabled relative or a grandparent. Now, there's a trade-off here. You may end up being in a caregiver role, which may lessen your opportunity to work outside the home. But let's say there's a family member that needs care and brothers and sisters have come together. The family has decided to pool their money, and your home at your agreement becomes a place where they stay. And it lowers the cost of nursing home care or assisted living, and they help pool money and pay your mortgage and money for you to help provide that caregiving. So it provides a great service to the family, and it's a great bonding experience as well. Years ago, when I was young, my grandfather, who was a small business person, an entrepreneur, he owned a restaurant, but he was the restaurant was in the first level of the house, and there was one bathroom, and it was upstairs. He had surgery and couldn't climb the stairs. So the business closed for a month. We brought him into our home because we were in a ranch at one level, and we actually put a bed in the dining room, and he lived there for a month. And that was a form of rehab care, and our cost to provide that for him was very low, and it's a great memory experience. Other ways of bringing money into the home is perhaps foster care kids. You may want to be a foster parent, adopting special needs or hard-to-place children. And of course, something that really won't pay, but there's an outflow of money, that's having a baby and raising a child in the home. But the home creates so many new opportunities, even bringing in someone like an exchange student. You really have the room to do that. Also consider financially the value of additions or improvements. You may want to rehab the house, put in sweat equity. You'll need to get permits from your local county or city or building department. Think about height restrictions, setbacks, and if the rehab is significant, will you live in the home while you do that? But always keep in mind the replacement cost of those improvements. Will they pay you back in enjoyment, in potential resale? And if you rent the house, are those improvements conducive for renting? Over improving may not be necessary. And now there's a new form of improvement on the horizon called an ADU, accessory dwelling unit. This is more than the she shed or the man cave shack in the backyard. This is a place where people can live in a small structure on land on your property and pay you rent, and that could be a place to put literally a boarder or a renter, but it also could be the place where a family member lives, such as an elderly grandparent or other relative. You've got to check the zoning, if there are HOA issues, permits, and perhaps get an inspection report on that as well. So there's also long-term financial considerations. If you didn't put in a very large down payment on your first home, you're often obligated to pay PMI, private mortgage insurance, to kind of cover that portion where you did not put in as much of the down payment. But over time, as the value of your house rises and the equity is built up, you may check with your lender and have that PMI insurance, that extra payment, removed. Down the road, and this is subject to banking and credit union regulations, if you have a lot of equity buildup, you could go for a HELOC, a home equity line of credit, after your mortgage is paid down. But check with your lender on that. You can refinance to get a lower interest rate and roll the closing costs in. But I want to give you a tip here. If you've been in the home a while and you go for a refi or refinance, let's say you started with a 30-year mortgage and now it's year 24. When you go for that refi, don't go for a lower interest rate at a new 30-year mortgage. Don't go backwards. Move forward. Keep paying more of that principal down. Your next mortgage could be a 22-year mortgage or a 20-year mortgage or less. In the refis I've done, I've insisted on that, and it's helped me pay down debt much, much faster. What if you have to sell in a down market? You're going through a job change, or maybe there's some market challenge. Can you rent the house while waiting for prices to come back, or maybe you're going to have to sell it at a loss or with less profit than you thought you would get? We are talking about how to make money off your first house. And now we'll look at the final area, renting your first house, as a pathway to asset building and ownership. These are financial moves to build wealth in the long term. Now, I'm not talking about flipping homes, but guess what? Your first home as a starter home is often an ideal home for renting. The numbers probably work much better than a more expensive home. You'll be able to cover your costs and earn some money at the same time and build equity. Many of you know we take viewer questions here at What's Next with Money, and we've got one from Luke. And Luke asks, where can I obtain a feel for and information about renting out my house? Is that right for me? Well, Luke, there are several places you could go. There may be a local or metro area apartment association where you can find free data about that. And sometimes an association may have a division, a membership division called an Individual Owners Council. Individual Owners Council. Now, these are non-corporate people. They own small apartment buildings, duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes. These are often independent investors. And joining a group like that for 6 months to a year, they may hold monthly meetings. You learn so much. You learn about repair people, how deals are structured, mortgage information, good places in a local community to buy or think about. And you can see if your home fits into that. And what about charging rents? Often a local business school professor may be the person in your area that does rental surveys. And you can look at those trends. And there are realtors who might specialize in rentals in your area. And now, after the big financial crisis in 07 and 08, there are major rental home companies that are corporate in nature who buy single-family houses all over the country. They have a lot of information. You can kind of see what they're charging for, the size of the homes, and what's attractive. So thanks, Luke, so much for that question. And please don't forget to hit that subscriber button here at What's Next with Money. And you can send in a question at the link below or at whatsnextwithmoney.com. We're talking about how to make money off your first house. Now we're going to get into the actual rental mechanics a little bit. We'll cover more detail in future videos, but for now, if you rent it, will you manage it? It's your first home. It's probably a starter home, not huge, and you know the home. It can become your rental real estate first business. Rental real estate is an inflation adjusted annuity. The rents come in and they come in hopefully on a regular basis, but over time you can adjust the rents hopefully upward as inflation goes up and there's more demand, or if you've perhaps made certain improvements. Here's another idea for first rental real estate, and that's the power of a duplex. Many financial advisors have said, if you buy a duplex, maybe you buy one side or buy both sides if you have the funding available. You live in one and you rent out the other. Or let's say you live and own one side of a duplex. Keep your eye on other sides of duplex in your neighborhood, and maybe and you want to keep living where you are, but maybe that might be your first rental acquisition. This creates a built-in rental pathway. So in your case, as you look to your financial future, you don't have to get the house of the future, but your first house could be your pathway to future asset and wealth building. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and remember, new episodes of What's Next with Money are available on Thursdays.